when you go through and you have different J6 stories, we can get into some of them. Let's start with, the Aaron Blacks and the Harry Dunns of the world. Just to go through, if we're going to do our season recap, Aaron Black, Nancy Pelosi's fixer, as she's known, that they definitely had to come to Blaze because you guys were the ones that had the story.
Yeah, and his name came up while I was in D.C. This is a name that's going to be looked at. And look, we're announcing that right now on television, but he already knows that. I mean, the way he responded, Aaron Black, Nancy Pelosi's precious, as I renamed him, not just his fixer. But the point being is that the day after our story came out, he began removing everything from his social media, particularly the cover headlines in his title, which he called himself Senior Advisor at Nancy Pelosi. Or Team Pelosi, rather. So he started removing all of that. Well, there's a reason for that. We now have, because of the new access that this new administration has given us, we are now actually seeing his name popping up in some documents that we'd never had access to before. That's pretty much all I can say about that right now. But there's more coming on Aaron Black. I'm very excited about it. But that leads us to other stories as well. I told somebody on Capitol Hill yesterday, I said, I will go to my grave. I'll either solve this riddle or they'll kill me in the process of solving it. And that is who suborned the perjury of Harry Dunn and David Lazarus in the Oath Keepers trial. I want to know that.
I love it. Matt always says, I just have to go through and keep you alive. That's my job now.
Yeah, my job is to keep both of them alive. It's a lot harder than you'd think. But right now it's easy. But the reason that it will become harder is because these stories are going to deepen. And, when it comes to January 6th, the big question that everyone wants to know is how did this thing actually start? It's what Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, wants to know. And it's what the audience wants to know. And really the thrust of your work since you were there on that day, walking around, recording things, noticing things, is what did cause it. And so if we look at the season recap of what we've done so far, the first thing was we had to keep stories about J6 alive in general, right? Because Daily Wire wasn't going to touch that. Fox, since Tucker, right? I mean, since Tucker left, I mean, that was one of the last things he did was some stuff on January 6th. No one else was going to do it. And so it seemed to me like the whole reason I'm here and that came out to Blaze was that so we could do stories like this. And I think it's the same with you, Steve. So it was obvious you came, you sort of look at some particular stories. We should recap with those stories though real quick. I mean, so Aaron Black is one of them, but remind people like Aaron Black, Nancy Pelosi's fixer, okay, but what do we know about him?
What we know about Aaron Black is that his name first popped up in the American consciousness when Project Veritas did a sting operation in 2016 in which they worked their way in with it was interesting, they worked their way in with an alleged intern who she was posing as an intern, acting as an intern, and in this particular far-left organization, activist organization, Democracy Defenders or Democracy Partners, one of those two. And in that process of her infiltrating that organization, she met Aaron Black, and of course she had the hidden camera going. And when they introduced, when the head of the organization introduced her to Aaron Black, he said, "Oh yeah, I'm kind of the guy that nobody's supposed to know about." Well, really, what do you do? He goes, "Well, like the violence at Chicago, at the Trump rally in Chicago." He goes, "Those were my people." I mean, right there, they caught him on that. Well, he actually first presented himself.
I think this is your phrase. You had a better one than this. I mean, he's a professional riot instigator.
That's what he is.
I mean, he organizes protests and riots.
And if you go all the way back to Occupy Wall Street, he was one of the principal organizers of that movement back in 2012. And so through our sources, we were able to learn about him. He was not a name on our radar. I mean, nobody's radars. I'm talking about anybody doing any investigations into January 6th whatsoever. This was a name that never came up. And we actually had
because he's a professional, Steve. His name doesn't come up.
Right.
And that means he's doing a good job.
But you know what it took? It took a foreign intelligence source, a European intelligence source, to whisper in my ear, and he gave me two names, and one of those names was Aaron Black. And he said, you need to look into this guy related to January 6th. And I said, what about him? He said, just look him up and then come back to me, and I'll try to fill in the holes for you. And so that's what we did. And all of a sudden, holy cow, who is this guy? So we obviously did a deep dive into him, and we set that up as part one, and there will be a part two, especially with the access that we have now.
So the Aaron Black story is, I mean, it really should have more traction. I mean, it did traction, we're the ones who broke it, but this is someone who you would expect to find right behind the most nefarious interpretation of January 6th. So this is someone whose job it is to instigate these kinds of events, and he works as Nancy Pelosi's, fixer or precious, as you said. Okay. Harry Dunn is another one that's really important, but just remind people who Harry Dunn is and where that rabbit trail leads.
Harry Dunn is the most famous Capitol Police officer in the history of the Capitol Police, and that is a direct result of his activities and his telling of January 6th, post-January 6th, to the media and in his book. He is a storyteller.
And he's still doing tours right now.
He's still,
to this day.
Yeah, he's still out there doing.
He's keeping J6 alive.
He is.
Right.
He is.
Well, okay.
Hero of January 6th, yes.
There's a lot of people that don't understand why J6 is important, and you mentioned already. Once Fox fired Tucker Carlson, they abandoned it. Daily Wire never got on it whatsoever. There were some other smaller media outlets who did, but by and large, everyone abandoned it because they didn't understand it first, and then they also were scared of it second. And the people who have never abandoned it are the people like, Scott MacFarlane from CBS. Never lets it go. He still reports J6 News to this day. And it's because that side knows how important that narrative victory was to them. And I wrote this in the very first column that I wrote. I wrote a 9,000 word, not page, column.
You have 9,000 pages up in your head, though.
Yeah, in my head. But 9,000 words the week after January 6th. And one of the things that I said in that column was that was the largest narrative victory that the left has ever scored in the history of the United States as a result of the people that made the mistakes of getting involved in violence that day. Now we got to figure out why they got involved in violence, who sparked it. Those things are ongoing. So now we're to Harry Dunn. And one of the things that Harry Dunn is he was one of the most successful tools of the narrative of Nancy Pelosi's famous phrase that we have to establish and preserve the narrative of that day. That was an exact quote from Nancy Pelosi a year later. And Dunn has been a useful idiot in that process because he's not only willing to follow the narrative, but he's willing to say any lie whatsoever to advance that agenda. And one of the most successful things that we've done is that our team, this has been a team effort here, is we've been able to spend more time in the Capitol CCTV viewing room than any other news organization in this country. And in so doing, what we did is we did a track and we did a day in the life of Harry Dunn. And Harry Dunn's testimonies to the January 6th Select Committee, the original one, his testimonies in trials, his book reports, what he wrote in his biography. There's more lies than there are truths told in every one of those situations, and we were able to establish that by the video evidence, not by conjecture or just, we didn't believe the guy. No, it was a lot more than that.
So the next season of J6 here on Blaze TV is going to be great. You can see it setting up right now.
Yeah, so all of the Harry Dunn story, though, led to who was coaching him. I mean, this is your point all along. Who was coaching this guy? Who made him change his story? Who massaged his story about what happened? And, that came from the FBI, right? Or the DOJ?
FBI and DOJ, one and the same in that post-January 6th operation.
So one of your white whales, if I can use a
That's
literary
right.
reference from Moby Dick, but no one reads anymore, so why do I do that? I don't know. But what you're chasing here is who was managing him and who was managing the person who was managing him.
And I think that when we get to that story, we're going to find out just how corrupt the DOJ operation was. Think about this. On the day of the verdict of the first Oath Keepers trial, when they were found guilty, and a couple of them were found guilty of seditious conspiracy, the first time in, my God, how long that an American citizen was found, 100 years since an American citizen had been found guilty of seditious conspiracy. And on that evening, I went with the defense lawyers to one restaurant, where everybody went to lick their wounds and drink away their sorrows after the loss. The prosecution team went to another fancy restaurant in D.C., and Politico reported the next morning that none other than Merrick Garland himself showed up and bought him a nice, expensive bottle of champagne. Now, I'm going to tell you something. That's not what a Department of Justice needs to be celebrating. That's not it. This is beyond the differences of opinion of how January 6th happened and what you think about the Oath Keepers. And by the way, when I say that, I say what you think you know about the Oath Keepers. You don't know. But regardless of that, that's not something where the Attorney General of the United States shows up and celebrates people that are about to go to prison for 20 years.
And but these are the answers that we're about to get, Jill. I mean, the thing is, now all of a sudden, there's a real hope that we actually find out who some of these people are.
Yes, there will be so much more to come here on Blaze TV.